Welcome, crafty friends. Amanda here with Crafting with Amanda, and I'm bringing you day 11 of Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, round 9. Here's the sketch, and here's a sneak peek of my layout. And this are, again, I'm working with photos from my mom from the 50s and 60s, and these are all on the back of my indicated rainbow camp. And I'm not sure if there was two different rainbow camps or if there was a rainbow event that took place in Fayetteville, West Virginia that wasn't Rainbow Camp. So I'm trying to label these with whatever information I have from the back of the photos. So from our sketch, you can see I'm trying to figure out that right hand page. And so I'm putting the photos in at that diagonal across and trying to leave some spaces and just playing around with the spacing of it. So now I've tacked all these down and I want to have a border around the outside edge, kind of like what the sketch has. You can kind of see those striped lines in there and that there's kind of a border, there's a separation between the elements. So now I've marked on the back the edges of where it's matches up with the outside edge of the charcoal cardstock, but instead what I do is I cut off a little bit more than just the line. I cut off the line plus the amount of gap I want to have from the edge. And I go ahead and do that with all of them. And then I cut out in Colonial White cardstock all of these squares. And so I'm kind of filling all of that in, giving the feel of emulating the sketch. And how I manage that behind the photos is I just used, once I decided where my starting point was, I used the squares kind of as a building block to show me my spacing for the rest of the layout. It was kind of interesting doing it at an angle. So now what I'm going to do is kind of do a rainbow effect all the way down the page. And if you watched my layout, I want to say it was from last Friday, it also had a Rainbow Girl theme on it. And so to not compete with the black and white photos or even the aged photo of the one Polaroid we have, I need some softer shades of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And so I'm taking Candy Apple Red and Nectarine and Lemonade and all of the colors of the rainbow. So they're still bright, but because I'm brushing them on, I don't have to go as heavy and I can get just a lighter coat of them. So that's what I'm doing here. I started with the red and then the orange. And then here with the yellow, as I'm doing this, I'm like, I'm not sure how wide of the yellow I really want to do. Most of what would be representative of the yellow is underneath photos. So I'm going to turn this around and start from the other end and kind of go up to the yellow so that if there's extra space, I can turn it yellow, if that makes any sense. So here we grabbed the grape and then I did the bluebird and I end up swapping that out. I add some sapphire over top of it because the bluebird and the Carolina blue, by doing this light effect, there wasn't enough color difference between the two, I didn't think. So here's the Carolina blue that we're adding. And there was something on the cardstock that's preventing the blue ink from going on it fully. I don't know if you can see that there, but I end up camouflaging or covering that with an embellishment later on. So now we're moving on to the green, and like I said, there's some extra space so that I can kind of blend between the green and the yellow and make the yellow a little bit bigger. And here's where I'm bringing that sapphire ink in to just deepen the darker blue. So I swapped out what page I wanted to have as my background. I needed something a little more neutral, I thought, to kind of give a balance between the two pages. And I figure I'll end up sanding some of that blue field off to soften it. And I'm cutting this down because the sketch is like a frame within a frame. And I really wish I would have cut this differently. I cut the 2 inches off this side, and I really wish I would have cut 2 inches off the other side instead of taking so much green out. That really would have reduced the amount of blue that was playing up top. But, we're just moving ahead at this point. So now I have these film strips that I made using the thin cut and stamp set that come with the card making kit. It's the Infill Bloom, and I really like how these film strips work, and they also have some on the Cricut and the digital images, so there's those as well. And I'm trying to fit these photos now in the 10-inch section, and then I realize I look at the sketch and they're spread out, so I can move those outside of the bounding box. And again, looking at the sketch and looking at the right-hand page, I'm thinking that I need to frame that 10-inch square and kind of anchor it so that it matches the other page. So I'm going to pull in a sheet of the charcoal cardstock, and I think that just anchors it. It gives it that separation between the background paper, and it's exactly what it's going to need. I was going to try to slide in another piece of pattern paper and kind of do some layering, and that I wasn't feeling it. So here I went and punched out all of these flowers using Colonial White, and I sponged or brushed them with ink just like I did the squares for the right page. And now I'm going to shape all my flowers. If you aren't familiar with my flower shaping, I love doing it, and I will post a link here for it's just 3 videos that show you how to shape different flowers using different tools and things that you have on hand that aren't necessarily designed for it but work really well. So I'm creating a couple of the flowers here. So I pushed in that center of the daisy, and now I'm using foam tape so that it pops off just like you see in real life, that they have a nice mound to them. So I glued 2 of the daisies together and offset the petals, and then just put that in the center, and I have kind of that Gerber daisy look going on. And then here's another technique, and if you start from the center and work your way in, it's a flatter situation, whereas if you start from the outside of each petal and draw into the center, it curves them up more. So I don't know if you can really tell on screen, but the flower that's already done has more of a bend to each petal, and it looks more, I think, like a real life daisy, where these that have been just curved from the outside in are a flatter, more scooped out flower. And I like the sharp edge where I use the piercing tool to pinch around each petal. So now I have glued things down, and I end up taking my photos off 6 times, I think, before we're done with this layout. And I have these film strips down there, and I made the flowers when I was waiting to pick my son up from school. So got that done. So, all right, we need to remove these flowers because I need to sand that blue background down. It's just a little too vivid to balance with the Carolina blue that was inked on the white squares on the right-hand page. So now I'm gonna put the photos back down again, and all of the little sheets, sticky notes that are on the photos came from the back sides. So I'm showing you here, if you want to back your film strip, you cut a piece that's just under 1 inch wide, and then I just kind of line it up to the end, slide it over, cut it off, and then slide it back, put glue on each of the ladder rungs, and you're good to go. So here I'm going to audition how I want to have these rainbow flowers coming down the page. I'm trying to tie the rainbow from the right page into the left page. I went on the Cricut and cut Friends Rainbow Camp because that's all the information I know. It might be Oak Hill like the one was from last Friday, but I'm not sure, so I can't say that for certain. But I have removed all of the notes that I had collected from the back of the photos, and I've typed them up, and you will get to see those later. I just add them kind of off on the side of each of the photos. So here I'm just tucking in some leaves. I'm trying to figure out arrangement for these flowers that it's not so linear, so that I really like that grouping of 3 in the upper corner and tuck a leaf in. And I really want something to kind of tie the film strip in to our mega display of photos here on the right hand page. And you can see I used the blue flower to camouflage where the ink wasn't quite going on evenly on those white squares. And I don't know if you saw, but I kind of flung a whole bunch of, they're just clear sequins. There were some that had yellow hues to them, and I took all those out, and I'm just using the all clear ones. and I glue all those down, and you can see them in real life. They're nice. They add some shimmer and shine to the layout. So I'm trying to hold this up so that you can see where they are on the page. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I hope that you are following along with everybody else in the hop as far as what they're doing. Links are in the description below the video. Here's where you can catch up with me if you're not familiar. I do have a Facebook group. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to do that. Give us a thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that this is content you like and will help share this word with other people. Here's videos you may be interested in, and I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you.